In this video, I'll be replacing the engine protective plate on a 1988 Porsche 944, as well as providing some part numbers and costs associated with the repair. The engine protective plate, sometimes called the engine tray or splash shield, resides below the engine where it covers the gap between the lower radiator support bracket and the aluminum crossmember. This fiberglass shield acts to protect the lower engine components from dirt and road debris, in addition to improving airflow below the car and through the radiator. Running the car without the plate installed will result in increased front-end lift at higher speeds due to the large open area for turbulence to develop. So if the engine tray is currently missing or damaged, which is fairly common to see, it's best to go ahead and replace it to improve the car's performance. The front of the engine tray uses 3 bolts mounted to some threaded tabs at the back of the lower radiator support bracket, and the rear of the tray bolts directly to the aluminum crossmember with an additional 5 bolts. All the bolts for this application are M6 by 15mm bolts, available through Porsche part number N010-21513. The setup also uses some spacer washers with a special collar designed to prevent the fiberglass tray from cracking when the bolts are tightened down, part number 944-503-25700. While the bolts can be found for around $1 a piece from various hardware suppliers, the spacer washers are a Porsche specialty item costing about $6 a piece. As for the engine tray itself, all the previous part numbers have been superseded to the Porsche 968 style engine tray, available for around $200 with shipping through part number 944-504-16704. When purchasing a new engine tray, you'll notice a few things about the updated design, the most obvious of which is that 4 of the previous 8 ventilation holes have now been sealed over, evidently an attempt by Porsche to further optimize airflow below the car. Secondly, instead of a completely flat leading edge, you'll notice a bit of a step down or an opening at the front right edge designed to better accommodate the lower radiator hose. You may also notice a series of 3 holes and notches cut into the center and side sections of the tray, which use speed clips to connect some additional air guides on the turbo, the S2, and the 968 setups, so these won't be used for the 944 NA application. And finally, there are 3 extra holes positioned on the rear edge that are used to connect a secondary protective plate on the turbo and 968 models, which again won't be used for the 944 base installation. As a side note, the early NA cars featured a metal protective plate of a different design via part number 944-341-16103. While this part number is no longer in production, used examples can still be found for around $200 to $300. Once the needed parts are acquired, installation is fairly straightforward. The engine tray can be positioned below the car, and then the bolt holes aligned across the front and the rear. First, installing a loosely threaded bolt at both ends of the tray to help hold it in place, while the remaining pieces of hardware are installed in their respective bolt holes. After everything is in position, the M6 bolts should be tightened to a recommended torque value of 8 Nm or 6 foot-pounds, but installing them good and tight with a small ratchet will generally do the trick as well. With everything tightened down, you'll now have a new engine tray to protect the lower engine components from damage and optimize airflow beneath the car for the best performance.